3 months ago, my son Rick told his poker buddies that his mother was losing her marbles, and he needed to take control of her finances before she gives everything away to scammers. What Rick didn't know was that his senile mother had been recording every conversation, documenting every lie, and building a legal case that would destroy him. You see, I may have early-stage dementia, but I'm still a federal judge with 40 years of legal experience. And when my own son tried to steal my house through elder abuse, he picked the wrong victim. This is the story of how a mother's love turned into a prosecutor's revenge, and how underestimating a judge's mind became the biggest mistake of my son's life. My name is Evelyn Carter, and until 3 years ago, I thought I had the perfect family. My husband Robert and I raised 2 children, my daughter Sarah, who became a doctor in Seattle, and my son Rick, who, well, Rick had different priorities. Rick was always the child who took shortcuts. While Sarah studied hard and earned scholarships, Rick expected everything to be handed to him. When he graduated college with mediocre grades, Robert gave him $100,000 to start a business. Rick lost it all within 2 years. Over the next 20 years, Rick went through multiple business failures, 2 bankruptcies, and a gambling problem he thought we didn't know about. Every time, Robert and I bailed him out. Robert would say, "He's our son. Family helps family." When Robert died 3 years ago, I was devastated. We'd been married for 52 years, built our dream home together, planned to grow old surrounded by grandchildren. Instead, I found myself alone in a house full of memories. The house Robert and I built is worth about $1.2 million now. It sits on 5 acres with a view of the lake, has 6 bedrooms, and holds 50 years of our life together. It's my sanctuary, my connection to Robert, and according to our will, it would go to our children when I pass away. About a year after Robert died, I started having memory issues, forgetting names, losing track of conversations, getting confused. About dates, my doctor diagnosed me with early-stage dementia. It was frightening, but I was still functioning well, still living independently. What I didn't tell Rick and his wife Amanda was that I'd asked my doctor to downplay my mental capacity in front of them. I'd started noticing how they looked at me during family dinners, like they were evaluating my mental state, waiting for me to slip up. Dr. Martinez explained that my dementia was in the very early stages. I had good days and bad days, but I was still competent to make my own decisions. My judgment and reasoning were largely intact. I just had some short-term memory issues. After my diagnosis, Rick and Amanda started visiting more often, not to spend time with me, but to assess my condition. They asked leading questions like, "Mom, do you remember what you had for breakfast?" Or, "Are you sure you're managing your finances okay?" That's when I decided to install security cameras throughout my house, not for protection from strangers, but to document what my own family was planning. And what I discovered was worse than I'd imagined. I recorded Rick telling Amanda, "She's getting worse." Yesterday, she asked me the same question 3 times. "We need to move fast before she does something stupid with the house." Amanda responded, "Can't we just have her declared incompetent, get power of attorney, and sell the house? We're 3 months behind on our mortgage." "Rick, we need that money now." They were planning to steal my home while I was still living in it, and they thought I was too senile to stop them. Rick's first move was to suggest I needed help managing my finances. He brought over a stack of papers and said, "Mom, these legal documents are so complicated. Why don't you let me handle your bills and investments? It'll be one less thing for you to worry about." What Rick didn't know was that I'd spent 40 years reviewing legal documents as a federal judge. I could spot a fraudulent power of attorney from across the room. These papers would have given him complete control over my assets, including the right to sell my house without my consent. I pretended to be confused by the paperwork. I said, "Oh, Rick, this is all so overwhelming. Let me think about it." But what I was really doing was buying time to build my case against him. I had my friend, Detective Murphy, help me install professional-grade recording equipment throughout the house. Every conversation, every phone call, every whispered plan between Rick and Amanda was being documented. I recorded Rick telling someone on the phone, "Yeah, she's definitely losing it. Yesterday, she put the milk in the cabinet instead of the refrigerator. I'm telling you, we need to act fast. Once I get power of attorney, we can sell the house and split the money. She'll never know what happened. The milk in the cabinet? That was deliberate. I was performing dementia symptoms to make Rick think his plan was working. but every confused moment was carefully calculated to gather more evidence of his intentions. The breakthrough came when Rick hosted his monthly poker game at my house. He thought I was asleep upstairs, but I was actually in my office, listening to every word through the security system. I heard Rick tell his friends, "Guys, I'm telling you, my mother is completely losing her marbles. Last week, she forgot my name twice. I'm gonna have her declared incompetent and get control of her finances. The house alone is worth over $1 million. One of his poker friends asked, "Isn't that kind of harsh, Rick? She seemed fine at your dad's funeral." And Rick responded, "Trust me, she's gone. Half the time she doesn't even know what day it is. I'm doing her a favor by taking control before she gives everything away to some Nigerian prince scammer." Then I heard Amanda's voice joining the conversation. She said, "We've already talked to a lawyer about having her committed to memory care. Once she's in a facility, we can sell the house and use the money to pay off our debts. She'll never know the difference." They were planning to have me committed to steal my house. My own son was going to put me in a nursing home against my will so he could pay off his gambling debts with my life's work. That's when I decided it was time to remind Rick that his mother wasn't just a confused old lady. She was a federal judge who'd sent people to prison for exactly this kind of elder abuse. I spent the next month building an airtight case against Rick and Amanda. Every recorded conversation, every forged document, every lie they told about my mental capacity, it was all documented and organized like the federal cases I used to prosecute. I also had Dr. Martinez conduct a comprehensive mental capacity evaluation. The results showed that while I have early-stage dementia, I'm still fully competent to make my own decisions. Rick's claims about my mental incapacity were completely false. But I wasn't just building a defense, I was preparing an offense. Rick had committed multiple felonies: attempted fraud, elder abuse, conspiracy to commit theft. As a former federal judge, I knew exactly how to present this case to prosecutors. I also discovered that Rick and Amanda had been forging my signature on documents for months. They'd opened credit cards in my name, taken out a loan against my house, and even tried to change the beneficiaries on my life insurance policy. The total amount they'd stolen or attempted to steal was over $200,000. In federal court, that's a felony that carries a sentence of up to 20 years in prison. I contacted Lisa Wong, an elder law attorney who specialized in protecting elderly clients from financial abuse. When I showed her my evidence, she was amazed. She said I had documented a textbook case of attempted elder financial abuse. Lisa explained that the recordings alone were enough to press criminal charges, but I had so much more. Medical evaluations, proving my competency, financial records showing the fraud, witness statements from neighbors who'd seen Rick's suspicious behavior. As I dug deeper into Rick's finances, I discovered the full extent of his desperation. He wasn't just behind on his mortgage, he owed money to loan sharks, had maxed out multiple credit cards, and was facing bankruptcy for the third time in his life. I found evidence of his gambling addiction that Robert and I had suspected but never confirmed. Casino receipts, online betting accounts, loans from payday lenders. Rick had blown through hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years. Amanda wasn't innocent either. While Rick was gambling away their money, she was spending thousands on designer clothes, spa treatments, and luxury vacations. They were living far beyond their means and saw my house as their salvation. I realized that Rick's plan wasn't just about greed, it was about survival. He was drowning in debt and saw stealing my house as his only way out. But that didn't excuse what he was planning to do to his own mother. I found brochures from memory care facilities that Amanda had collected. Not the nice ones, the cheapest, most basic facilities she could find. She calculated that putting me in the lowest cost care would leave more money from the house sale for them to keep. That's when I knew I couldn't just defend myself, I had to go on the offensive. Rick and Amanda had shown me exactly who they were, and I was going to make sure the world knew it too. I started quietly reaching out to other elderly people in my community. What I discovered was that Rick and Amanda's behavior toward me wasn't unique. They'd been targeting other vulnerable seniors as well. Mrs. Patterson, my neighbor, told me that Rick had approached her about helping with her finances after her husband died. He'd offered to manage her investments for a small fee. Fortunately, her daughter intervened before he could take advantage of her. Mr. Chan from down the street said Rick had tried to convince him to sell his house and move into a retirement community, offering to help with the sale. Rick had presented himself as a real estate expert, though he had no license or qualifications. I realized that Rick wasn't just planning to abuse me. He was running a systematic scheme to take advantage of elderly people in our community. He saw us as easy targets, people whose families wouldn't question his help. I organized a meeting at the senior center to warn other elderly residents about financial abuse. I shared my story without naming Rick initially and watched as other people came forward with similar experiences. What emerged was a pattern of predatory behavior that went back years. Rick had been positioning himself as a helpful neighbor while systematically identifying vulnerable seniors he could exploit. I decided it was time to confront Rick and Amanda directly. I invited them over for Sunday dinner, telling them I was ready to sign the power of attorney papers. They arrived with their lawyer and a notary, thinking they'd finally succeeded in their plan. Rick said, "Mom, I'm so glad you're being reasonable about this. It's really for your own good. You don't need to worry about managing all these complicated finances anymore." I let them set up their papers, get their notary ready, even poured them coffee. Then I said, "Before we sign anything, I have something to show you." And I turned on the television. The first thing they heard was Rick's voice saying, "My mother is completely losing her marbles. I'm gonna have her declared incompetent and get control of her finances." Rick jumped up and said, "Mom, where did you get that recording?" And I smiled and said, "The same place I got all the others, son. From the security system you didn't know I installed." I told them I'd been recording everything for months. Every conversation, every lie, every plan to steal my house and have me committed. Rick's lawyer immediately started packing up his papers, realizing he'd walked into a legal nightmare. Amanda started screaming, "You can't record us without permission, that's illegal." But I calmly explained that in my state, recording conversations in your own home is perfectly legal, especially when you're documenting crimes being planned against you. Rick tried to bluff his way out of it. He said, "Mom, you're confused. We were just trying to help you. You need someone to manage your affairs." But then I played the recording of him talking about selling my house and splitting the money. I looked Rick straight in the eye and said, "Son, I may have dementia, but I'm still a federal judge. I know elder abuse so I see it, and I know how to prosecute it. You've committed multiple felonies, and I have everything documented." I showed them the complete case file I built. Bank records showing the fraudulent accounts they'd opened in my name. Credit applications with forged signatures. Insurance documents where they tried to change beneficiaries. I presented Dr. Martinez's comprehensive mental capacity evaluation, proving that I was fully competent to make my own decisions. Rick's claims about my mental incapacity were not only false, they were defamatory. I showed them the financial analysis my advisor had prepared, documenting every fraudulent transaction, every forged signature, every attempt to steal from me. The total came to over $200,000 in attempted theft. Rick tried to claim it was all a misunderstanding. He said, "Mom, we were just trying to protect you from scammers. We never meant to hurt you." But I played the recording where he explicitly talked about selling my house and keeping the money. Amanda completely fell apart. She started crying and saying, "We're going to lose everything." "Rick, you said she'd never find out." It was a full confession, and of course, I was recording that conversation too. I told them they had two choices. They could cooperate with the authorities, return every penny they'd stolen, and face reduced charges, or they could continue lying and face the full weight of federal elder abuse prosecution. I had already prepared criminal complaints with the district attorney's office. Elder financial abuse, fraud, forgery. Conspiracy, the charges would likely result in significant prison time, especially given Rick's history of financial crimes. The community impact 27 minutes and 0 seconds to 29 minutes and 0 seconds. Word of Rick's arrest spread quickly through our community. The local newspaper ran a story about elder financial abuse, using my case as an example of how seniors could protect themselves. The response from my neighbors and friends was overwhelming. People I'd known for decades came forward to share their own experiences with Rick's predatory behavior. Mrs. Patterson thanked me for saving her from falling victim to his schemes. I started giving presentations at the senior center about recognizing and preventing elder abuse. I shared my story to help other elderly people understand the warning signs and protect themselves from family members who might exploit them. The district attorney's office was very interested in my case. They said it was one of the most well-documented elder abuse cases they'd ever seen. My legal background had helped me build a prosecution-ready case file. Rick ultimately pled guilty. to multiple felony charges. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison in order to pay full restitution. Amanda divorced him before the trial and moved back to her parents' house in another state. The hardest part wasn't the legal battle, it was accepting that my own son had been willing to destroy my life for money. The child I'd raised, loved, and supported through every failure had seen me as nothing more than an obstacle to his financial problems. It's been 6 months since Rick was sentenced. I still live in the house Robert and I built, still manage my own finances, still make my own decisions. The dementia is progressing slowly, but I'm far from the helpless victim Rick thought I was. My daughter Sarah has been incredibly supportive throughout this ordeal. She's helped me set up proper legal protections for my future care, ensuring that if I do become incapacitated, my wishes will be respected and my assets protected. I've become an advocate for elder rights in my community. I work with local law enforcement to train officers on recognizing elder abuse, and I help other seniors document suspicious behavior from family members or caregivers. People often ask me if I regret turning in my own son. The answer is no. Rick made his choices, and those choices had consequences. I couldn't let him destroy my life to fix his mistakes, and I couldn't let him continue preying on other vulnerable seniors. Having dementia doesn't make you helpless. Having memory problems doesn't make you stupid. And being elderly doesn't make you an easy target, not if you're prepared to fight back. Rick thought he could steal my house because he assumed I was losing my mind. What he didn't realize was that 40 years as a federal judge had taught me exactly how to build a case, gather evidence, and prosecute criminals. Even with dementia, I was still sharper than he ever was. If you or someone you know is experiencing elder abuse, don't stay silent. Document everything, seek help from professionals, and remember you have rights, regardless of your age or mental capacity. Sometimes the best defense is a good offense. It's strange how quiet a life can feel after a verdict. The day the sentence came down, I walked in the door, hung up my coat, and realized the house sounded exactly the same as it had the morning I discovered Rick's plan. The clock in the hallway kept its steady metronome. The old pipes sighed, and the wood floor near the kitchen still announced my step with that familiar creak. Justice, it turns out, doesn't rearrange your furniture. It hands you back your ordinary things and expects you to keep going. So I did what I've done in every hard season of my life. I made a list. Asterisk, the first list was practical. Update the trust. Install a second handrail on the cellar stairs. Color code a medication box. Put the attorney, physician, fiduciary, and Sarah's numbers on a single laminated card by the phone. Freeze my credit, pull my credit reports quarterly. Set. Bank alerts for every transaction over $50. Create an IC folder in case of emergency on my desk with my advance directive, healthcare proxy, and pulsed form. The mechanics of safety are unglamorous, but they are a kind of love letter to your future self. If a fog ever rolls in and I know it may, then I want lighthouses already lit. The second list was emotional and harder. What to do with disappointment. How to grieve a son who is alive. What to say if he calls. What to do if he never does. I allowed myself to admit both truths. I am proud of the woman who would not be exploited, and I am heartsick for the mother whose child chose that path. Those feelings sit side by side like two strangers on a bench, staring out at the same lake, sharing the silence because words feel clumsy. I have learned to give them both a chair at the table. Pretending one isn't there makes the other shout. Asterisk people ask, do you regret pressing charges? No. Accountability is not cruelty. It is a boundary with teeth. It says, this is where your choices end and my life begins. The law is good at teeth. It is less reliable at balm. What the law cannot do, what it will never be built to do, is stitch up the torn fabric of a family. That mending, if it ever happens, is slow work and not guaranteed. I don't confuse the two anymore. I prosecuted the crimes. I am still tending the wounds. I also learned to redraw the map of my house. After months of bracing for intrusion, I needed to reclaim rooms not as battlegrounds, but as places of rest. The office where I assembled evidence is now a reading nook. I moved the file boxes to a locked cabinet and put a rocking chair by the window. I leave a book upside down on the arm, always mark the page with a ribbon, not a memory. The kitchen, where I acted befuddled about milk and spoons to trap a lie, is a kitchen again. I bake on Sundays because the rhythm helps: flour, salt, sugar, cream the butter, add 1 egg at a time. Structure is a kindness to a brain that sometimes dawdles. Asterisk, the diagnosis sits with me like a neighbor, 1 part nosy, 1 part helpful, always at the fence. I don't fight its existence. I negotiate terms. I keep whiteboards in 3 rooms. Today's date, 2 appointments, 1 joy line where I write something small to anticipate a call with Sarah, new peonies by the drive, the senior centers. Book club arguing about plot holes none of us can remember with precision. If I repeat a story, I let myself laugh first. Dignity grows when you water it, not when you guard it with a spear. Asterisk, there's a practical dignity too. I simplified my finances to a handful of accounts, each with alerts that speak louder than my forgetfulness. My passwords live in a locked manager with a paper backup and a safe deposit box. Sarah knows where the key is, but not the code. My fiduciary knows the code, but not the key. Redundancy is not paranoia, it is a courtesy to whoever helps you later. I meet with my care team quarterly: doctor, attorney, fiduciary, and Sarah on speaker. We don't dramatize the future. We assign it tasks. When you hang a calendar on something frightening, it shrinks. Asterisk, the strangest part of survival is what kindness looks like afterward. Neighbors leave casseroles when someone dies. They don't know what to bring when a son betrays a mother. People showed up with awkward hugs and longer looks. I made it easy for them. I said, "Thank you for checking on me." "Okay, and when I'm not, I'll tell you." That became my rule. Say the simple truth so the room can breathe again. A retired mailman started shoveling my walk before the plows came. A girl from down the road brings my trash bins back from the curb. On Tuesdays, reciprocity matters, so I do what I can. Notarize papers for free at the senior center, proofread scholarship essays, write letters of recommendation. Use what you have. Asterisk, and I had the law. I'd spent 40 years teaching younger lawyers that evidence wins cases, not indignation. After the sentencing, I realized we needed to teach that to the people most likely to need it. We built a program at the senior center called Proof Protects. It's not glamorous. We pass around simple log sheets and teach basic tech. How? To name a file so you can find it. How to save audio with a timestamp when your state allows recording. What to say when you suspect someone is nudging at your boundaries. We role-play polite refusal. "I'll have my attorney review that," said with a smile. "Let me think on it," as a full sentence. "No, thank you," without apologies stapled to it. Watching a room of 80-year-olds rehearse no is almost holy. We talk about paperwork as a shield and a story. A ledger is a diary that a judge can read. A calendar entry with 3 words, "Rick asked again," is a breadcrumb. I tell them paper remembers kindly and exactly. Memory remembers. With feeling. Both matter. If someone is pressuring you, write it down the day it happens. You're not being dramatic. You're preserving context. Asterisk, I visit the prison once, then not again. I debated telling that to anyone. It felt private, but secrets grow mold and I am tired of mildew. I went because I needed to see the difference between consequence and cruelty with my own eyes. It is a hard thing to look at your child through reinforced glass and recognize him as both the boy you taught to tie shoes and the man you testified against. He asked for forgiveness in a tangle of words that sounded like debt collectors at the door, urgent, rehearsed, threaded with panic. I said, "Forgiveness is a gift I give myself first." He didn't like that answer. I didn't either, back when I first learned it in grief group after Robert died. But it's the one that lets you sleep. I told him there would be conditions for any future contact. Sobriety proven, restitution complete, therapy documented, and no more lies even when the truth is unflattering. He called it vindictive. I call it a boundary with a doormat and a lock. Both can coexist. Asterisk, on the days when sorrow sharpens, allow rituals to do some lifting. I light a candle on Robert's birthday and read him the first page of whatever book is on my nightstand. It's silly and it helps. I walk the perimeter of the property once a week with a cane I don't yet need, because one day I will, and I'd rather this land learn my slower pace now. I planted a row of hydrangeas I'll never see at full height. When you build something you won't finish, you loosen your grip on the idea that you must control the ending. It is enough to contribute to it. Asterisk, my relationship with Sarah grew sturdier. In the quiet, we built a ritual of our own. Friday phone calls, no agenda, 20 minutes. Sometimes we talk like it's a deposition, clean facts. Short answers, because that's how our brains were trained to organize chaos. Sometimes we laugh about recipes neither of us will ever try. Once a month, she asks a hard question, and I answer, even if it stings. Mom, if the time comes when you can't live here safely, where do you want to be? We toured 2 residences together and built a ranked list based on sunlight, library hours, and the smell of the hallways. Planning is not surrender. Is stewardship. I've also learned to narrate my life out loud when I'm alone. If you came to my window at 10 a.m., you might hear a retired judge announcing to the toaster, "Bread is in." Tea kettles don't boil faster if you scowl at them. It's not madness. It's a simple accommodation. Spoken steps study shaky memory. And they're kinder than muttered criticism when I misplace the salt twice dot if there is anything I wish I'd known earlier. It's that vigilance does not need to make you hard. The recordings, the logs, the notarized statements, those were tools, not armor I had to wear to bed. I keep them close. I clutch them. Hypervigilance steals from the good hours the same way negligence steals from the bank. Somewhere between those two thieves is a posture that says, I am careful and I'm still open. I am practicing that stance. The community changed, too. After my case, 3 families approached me about similar patterns settle at first. A nephew, suddenly helping with online banking. A neighbor eager to become a health proxy. A caregiver frequently finding unsigned checks needing signatures. We created 3 scripts anyone can use. Script 1, thank you. My attorney handles this. Script 2, let's put that in writing. Script 3, silence, because not everything deserves a response. We printed them on wallet cards. Power, it turns out, fits in a purse when you give it language. I think about the word competent more than I used to. The law draws a bright line. You are not. Life prefers dimmers. There are mornings I mislay a name like a sock in the dryer, and afternoons I can still recite case law I wrote. 20 years ago, I've stopped treating that variance as a verdict. Capacity isn't a single switch. It's a panel. Some lights flicker, others burn steady. You learn which rooms you should enter in daylight and which ones you exit carefully at dusk. And you invite a friend to bring a flashlight. I also write letters to myself. Not long ones, a page at most. Dear Evelyn, today you handled the pharmacy call with grace. You corrected the billing code without snapping. You remembered to eat lunch before 3. When the harsher voices arrive, regret, anger, that old prosecutorial perfectionism, I have counter exhibits. I keep them in a blue folder labeled Mercy. It's a habit I recommend to every client and friend. Build a record that is kind. Is for Rick. The most honest thing I can say is that I hold 2 futures in mind. In one, he chooses a hard truth-telling life, and I make room for it at a distance that protects us both. In the other, he continues the gravity of his worst decisions, and my door remains shut. I do not root for his failure. I root for our safety. Those are not opposites. Asterisk, and here is the clearest learning. I can offer anyone standing where I stood. Act early and write things down. Don't wait for a dramatic moment to organize your legal life. Name your agents while you can still pick them from love, not crisis. Spend a morning making 3 calls you've postponed. Doctor, lawyer, bank, and a 4th is someone who will bring soup and sit in your kitchen while you do the first 3. Courage enjoys company. We forget that. Asterisk, I do not pretend I am unbruised. Some nights, I dream of a yellow lunchbox, a 2nd grade science fair, a boy's head heavy on my shoulder in a dark theater while a cartoon rabbit made him laugh so hard he choked on popcorn. Memory is not obligated to respect your court calendar. It files motions at midnight, and most judges are too tired to deny them. When that happens, I let the scene play. Then I say out loud, both things are true, and I put the kettle on. Warm water is not therapy, but it is not nothing. Asterisk people keep asking me to speak at churches and libraries. I go when I can. I tell them what I wish someone had told me. Elder abuse isn't an ugly story about other families. It's a possibility within every family. Predators do not always knock from the outside. Sometimes they already have a key. You do not need to be ashamed of making a copy of the lock. You do not need to be ashamed of using it. Asterisk. If I could give the whole subject one plainer name, I'd call it permission. Give yourself permission to notice discomfort, to ask why now. When someone presses, to say, I'll decide after I rest. To tell your physician the truth in front of your children and a different truth in private if their presence changes your answers. To bring the third chair into every important conversation, someone whose only job is to remember what was said. Most harm hides in the margins where memory blurs. Bring a HIGHTER ... asterisk the days are mostly good. I read the paper on the porch and underline phrases I want to look up later. Even if I won't, I keep oranges in a blue bowl because the contrast pleases me and that is reason enough. I meet with a young public defender once a month and listen. More than I talk. She thinks I'm mentoring her. Perhaps I am. Perhaps she is keeping my mind limber so I can keep teaching for a while longer. Asterisk, do I wish things were different? Of course. I wish my husband were still here to say something irreverent and tender at the same time, as only he could. One wish my son had asked for help the way a drowning man calls for a rope, not for the deed to the dock. But I do not wish away the clarity that came. Clarity is a hard, bright mercy. It lets you choose the next right thing without negotiating with a fantasy. Asterisk, if you are listening to me and thinking, I could never do what she did, let me relieve you of that fear. I am not braver than you. I simply had practice. Years. In court made me fluent and calm. You can borrow mine until yours arrives. Begin with one small act of steadiness. Write down today's date and one thing you need to change. Put the paper where you make your coffee. Change just that thing. Then, write another one tomorrow. This is how we prosecute chaos. With lists, with friends, with boundaries, with humor when it visits, and with rest when it won't. Asterisk, I will end with this, because it is the truest sentence I own. Having dementia does not erase me. Having a son in prison does not define me. Having survived a betrayal does not harden me beyond repair. I am a woman who loves her home, her garden, her daughter, her community, and yes, even her son in the complicated, undramatic way that mothers do when love has been walked over and still refuses to leave. The law taught me how to make a case. Life taught me when to close the file and make tea. And today, as on most days, I choose both justice and gentleness. I recommend the same to you. After the interviews ended and the casseroles cooled, a different season began the long, undramatic work of building a life that doesn't revolve around crisis. I learned that quiet is not the absence of danger. It's the presence of discipline. So I kept choosing small, steady acts until the ground felt like ground again. Asterisk, the courthouse asked me to speak at a continuing education seminar for prosecutors. Elder abuse from the bench to the kitchen table. I told them what they rarely hear. The most useful evidence often looks boring. A dated note in the margin. A consistent phrase. A bill paid twice. The law loves fireworks. Juries believe patterns. I urge them to train bank tellers and pharmacy. Techs as first sentinels. They see us more than detectives do. A teller who notices a customer who never withdrew cash suddenly taking out thousands every Friday, that's a better alarm system than any gadget. Asterisk, we built a checklist and titled it the Kitchen Table Compact. It reads like common sense. Because it is, no signing documents you didn't request. No adding people to accounts without a cooling off week. No emergency contractors, paid in cash. No new caregivers without 2 references and a copy of their driver's license photographed and stored. Sign it with a friend present. tape it inside a cupboard. A compact is not a law, but it's a promise with a witness. And that matters. *I. Revised my own protections again, not out of fear, but out of respect for entropy. I created a circle of 3. A fiduciary who pays the bills, a healthcare proxy who knows my medical preferences well enough to argue with a surgeon, and a neutral advocate who has permission to say, stop. We need a second opinion. No one person holds all keys. Redundancy is compassion disguised as caution. *I. Vest started training my future self the way you train a new employee clear files, simple labels, short instructions. On the pantry door, an index card, tea on the left, kettle on the right. Turn the dial to 2 o'clock. In the hall closet, winter coats on the right hook, gloves in the blue basket. It's not infantilizing. It's hospitality for the woman I am still becoming. *I took one more lap around the past too. I went back to my old chambers one afternoon when the clerk's office was quiet. I stood by the window where I wrote my first published opinion and thought about the difference between judgment and judgmental. The first requires evidence. The second requires adrenaline. I have lived too long on both. These days I ask, is this a verdict or a velocity? If it's the latter, I make tea and wait an hour. The Senior Center's Proof Protects class has grown into a small movement. We spun off a pro bono clinic on Tuesdays. A retired CPA sits with a magnifying glass and reads bank statements for line items that shouldn't exist. A former librarian helps organize red folders, urgent documents, and blue folders, history we're keeping for dignity, not court. I notarize forms and explain gently that a will downloaded from the internet is a band-aid, not surgery. We added a session for adult children who are terrified of becoming the villain. We teach them how to offer help without seizing control, to keep receipts, to speak in questions instead of directives. Would you like me to schedule 2 estimates? Land's better than you need to fix the roof. I tell them if you want your parent to hear you talk like a partner, not a prosecutor. On the first Sunday of each month, 3 of us meet in the park on a weathered bench widower, and me. We bring thermoses and a single rule. We tell the truth without auditioning for sympathy. We trade tricks. He labels his meds with colored dots. She keeps 2 sets of reading glasses in every room. I use my oven timer for everything, even letters if I'm still angry when it dings. I don't mail it. We call ourselves the bench. We are not impressive. We are reliable. That's better. My church asked me to join a committee to revise our benevolence guidelines. I insisted we add training on financial exploitation. We adopted a modest policy. Every monetary request from or for a senior must include a conversation with a non-family advocate. That extra voice has already saved 2 parishioners from urgent repairs that mysteriously doubled in price at the door. The hydrangeas I planted after the sentencing took to the soil. They blossom a stubborn blue that makes no apology for thriving beside a memory that still aches. I deadhead them on Saturdays, and in that simple gesture I practice an ethic. Keep what blooms, remove what harms, and don't confuse the two. I wrote a letter to Rick that I will likely never send. It is not a plea or a curse. It is a ledger of facts and an offering of terms. If you choose a different life, it says, you may write to me through your attorney after the following are true for a year. Sobriety verified. Restitution current, therapy attended. No contact with seniors in a financial capacity. I will read the letter with Sarah present and respond once. Some people call that cold. To me, it is warmth with walls safe enough for hope to lie down. Without being dragged into the street, Sarah and I created a standing parole plan, file that doesn't pretend to be a reunion fantasy. It lists scripts I can use if contacted unexpectedly, the name of a therapist I trust if old wounds flare, and 3 friends I can call if my voice shakes. Planning for grief's return doesn't invite it. It simply sets a chair where it will. Sit if it shows up. I also learned to audit joy the way I audit risk. Once a week, I write 5 lines, something that delighted my senses, a person I saw without an agenda, something I made with my hands. something I learned, something I forgave, even a small thing. Most weeks the list is ordinary sun on the table, the smell of oranges, the feel of a page turning, but ordinary is underrated. It is how a life worth keeping announces itself. Asterisk, a teenager down the street asked to mow my lawn for extra money. I asked him to bring a simple written proposal. How often, how much, what happens if he misses a week? He blinked, then returned with a typed page and a proud smile. I paid him a little more than he asked and told him why. His contract respected. Use both. He joked that I made yard work feel like law school. I told him law school could use more lawnmowers. Asterisk, I've become oddly evangelical about the ethics of recording. I tell every class, if you live in a one-party consent state, understand both the power and the restraint required. Record to preserve, not to provoke. Name your files clearly, store them securely, and don't weaponize them online. Evidence should serve truth, not humiliation. A clean chain of custody and a clean conscience travel well together. There is a room in my house, I call the quiet archive. It holds photo albums, letters, and a binder labeled context. If someday someone must make decisions for me, I want them to know who I was when I could still narrate myself. The binder has small pages. How I like my tea. Why I kept that chipped mug. What I meant when I told you to drive safe. You may call this sentimental. I call it practical. Love is easier to deliver when you know which door it prefers. The legislature invited me to testify on a modest bill. Mandatory elder financial abuse training for anyone who sells annuities in our state. I brought a single page of bullet points. And a story about a bank teller who saved a woman from emptying her account for a grandson in jail. The bill passed. It won't fix everything. It will fix something. That is enough for a Tuesday. One of the oddest blessings of this year has been a gentler inner narrator. For decades, my mind sounded like a cross-examination. Now it sounds more like a clerk who cares about closing time. Let's finish what we can, file what we can't, and leave the rest for morning. It's still me, just a kinder version, who has learned to put down the gavel and pick up a calendar. Asterisk, I keep a small list on the fridge titled Threshold Test. 5 items that tell me if it's time to adjust help. Did I leave a burner on? Miss 2 doses in a week? Get lost on a route I know? Forget to close an account properly? If 2 items happen in a month, I call the team. I refuse to let pride pilot when metrics can. It is not defeat to measure your life. It is stewardship. Asterisk forgiveness. For me, it has become less of a declaration and more of a posture. I do not rehearse Rick's worst day anymore. I do not rehearse my best day either. I try to stand in the present with both hands open, one for caution, one for blessing. On good mornings, I pray a short prayer that would make even an agnostic nod. Let me be shrewd and soft in the same hour. Some days I manage one. On rare days, I manage both. Asterisk, I also made peace with the fact that I cannot fix the story people tell about me. Some will call me heroic. Some will call me heartless. Neither label helps with the trash on Tuesdays or the pill sorter on Sundays. I am not a headline. I am a woman who bought new dish towels and finally learned how to reset the breaker without calling the neighbor. There's a quiet sovereignty in that. Asterisk. The grandchildren Sarahs are old enough now to ask better questions. Grandma, can a person be 2 things at once? I tell them yes, and often are. Brave and scared, wrong and learning. Family and stranger. We bake cookies and I let them measure imperfectly on purpose. Precision belongs in court filings. Childhood belongs in bowls too full of flour. Asterisk, once a quarter, I read a letter to my future medical proxy. It begins, if today were the day you had to choose for me, then I answer 4 simple prompts. What matters most? What frightens me most? What comforts me most? What I'm willing to trade for time? The letters sometimes contradict each other, which is the point. Values deepen. Specific shift. Decisions made with yesterday's love notes age better than decisions made with last. Nights panic. Asterisk, I don't end my days with the news anymore. I end them with a page from a book of essays and 5 minutes at the window. I say goodnight to the hydrangeas, not because they can hear me, but because I want to keep practicing tenderness in a world that often rewards edge. My last thought most nights is 2 words I wish I'd learned earlier. Enough and still. Enough has been done today. I am still here. Asterisk if you're listening for a neat bow, I don't have one. I have calluses in the right places and fewer in the wrong ones. I have a house that feels like a home again and a calendar that belongs to me. I have a son who may or may not someday meet the terms of the letter I'll likely never send. I have a daughter who knows where the keys are and the courage to use them if she must. Asterisk, most of all, I have a simple conviction that outlived the worst of this. We do not owe our lives to anyone's panic, not even our children's. We owe our lives to the steady work of telling the truth and putting guardrails where love alone isn't enough. That is not bitterness. That is wisdom with sleeves rolled. Asterisk tomorrow, I'll make a pot of soup and label 2 containers for the freezer. I'll sort the mail with a bright pen and toss the scams before they touch the counter. I'll call Sarah. At 4, I'll underline a sentence that deserves company. I will, in short, keep going. And if another storm comes and life guarantees weather, I will do what saved me before. Document, decide, and when necessary defend. Then I'll deadhead the flowers and sit, not because the world is fixed, but because this little patch of it is tended. That is enough. That is still asterisk. I've started putting small labels on the inside of cupboard doors. Nothing bossy. Just a few gentle cues for the days that feel foggier. Checks live in the blue folder. Medicine gets a glass of water first. It's not surrender. It's hospitality for the future version of me who might arrive tired and need a kind house to meet her at the door. There's a notebook on the kitchen table labeled Signals. It isn't a diary, it's a log. When I sleep poorly, I note it. When names come slower, I note that too. Not to scare myself, but to separate a passing cloud from a weather pattern. Patterns are where wisdom hides. I used to chase certainty with a gavel. Now I court it with a pen. Thursdays are for the library. I return books early, even if I haven't finished, because the point isn't conquest. It's circulation. I pick something light, something heavy, and one oddity that makes the librarian smile when she stamps it. On the walk home, I read a page at each bench and let the sun mark my place. I'm relearning how to linger. I keep a fraud bag by the front door, magnifying glass, sticky notes, a bright highlighter, a phone with the attorney's office on speed dial. When junk mail arrives claiming a grand prize, I don't get mad. I get methodical. I time how long it takes to dismantle the trap 9 minutes, 13 seconds, and then I write wasted no more on the envelope and drop it in the shred bin. It feels like sweeping glass from a sidewalk. A small whiteboard hangs by the stove with 3 questions for every decision. Is this necessary? Is this kind? Is this mine to do? 2 yeses are the price of admission. If I can't afford them, I defer, and deferring is a kind of courage I never learned in court because court worships speed, home worships fit. I've rewritten my instructions for the morning after any hospital stay. The first rule is easy. No decisions for 72 hours that involve money, moves, or men with clipboards. The second rule is kinder. All visitors feed you before they advise you. I've posted both where even my stubborn days will have to look them in the eye. A neighbor boy mows my lawn now. We have a handshake and a contract. He texts me a photo. When he finishes, I leave his payment in an envelope under the ceramic duck. Twice a year we renegotiate. He's learning that clarity is respect, and I am reminded that accountability is not suspicion. It's simply light in the room. There's an ethical will forming in the hallway closet next to the winter scarves. It isn't a list of assets. It's a ledger of why. The recipe cards with sauce stains, the postcard I kept because a stranger's handwriting looked like my mother's, the cheap brooch I wore to my first day on the bench, each has a note. Love needs footnotes when memory frays. I volunteer 1 afternoon a week to sit with someone else's worry. We don't call it counseling, we call it company. We go through their papers, and when the panic rises, we pause to identify the loudest lie in the stack. There's always a loud lie. Naming it takes half its weight away. Then we label folders until the rest of the weight becomes drawers that close. I've given myself permission to be new at things. The piano in the corner has learned to tolerate my scales. I practice the left hand alone until the stubborn notes soften. When frustration climbs into my shoulders, I set a timer and play the simplest hymn I know. I end on a chord that resolves. It's scandalous how often life will too if you let it. Whenever I misplace something, I thank the object when it returns. There you are, little key. Thank you for hiding only in pockets and not in drains. It sounds silly until you understand that gratitude is a compass. It keeps pointing me back to the ordinary mercies that survive every storm. I keep 3 letters sealed in my desk, 1 to my past self, 1 to my son as he might be if he mends, and 1 to the person who will someday help me dress. They all say the same first line: "You're not the villain of this story." People behave better when they're not busy defending their existence. Meal prep has become a ritual of foresight. I simmer beans with a bay leaf and divide them into small jars with dates and short instructions. Add lemon, olive oil, and courage. I stack them like little future yeses. On difficult afternoons, I do not negotiate with exhaustion. I accept its terms and open a jar. I've learned to keep joy on my way. A museum ticket purchased on Monday, a ride promised to a neighbor for Friday's farmer's market, a postcard addressed to an old clerk but not yet mailed micro-commitments. That pull me across the week like handholds on a climbing wall. Desire earned slowly is sturdier than impulse. Medical appointments get a portable context kit, a single sheet with my history in ordinary language, a list of my musts and my nevers, and a short note about how anxiety dresses up when it visits me, talkative, polite, expansive. I hand it to the nurse like a peace offering. Here's how to care for me without guessing. At the senior center, I've started a paper Saturday. We brew coffee too strong, put on old standards, and tackle stacks of mail together. We seal envelopes every 30 minutes and take a lap around the building to uncramp our hands and heads. We end by reading aloud 1 sentence from something beautiful, to remind ourselves that not all paper is predatory. I asked my doctor to write 2 versions of every plan, the medical jargon and the kitchen table translation. I staple them together. It is a small rebellion against opacity and a big step toward consent that actually means something. Guilt still calls sometimes. Using old numbers, it says I should have saved him differently. I tell it the truth. I tried until my trying harmed us both. Then I make tea and text someone a picture of the hydrangeas. Evidence, even of flowers, is better than alibis. I've placed small bells on promises that matter literally. A tiny brass bell hangs on the key hook labeled Church Ride, Mrs. Alvarez. 1 rings on the pantry shelf tagged Birthday Cake, Nate's Party. When I keep a promise, I ring the bell softly. When I must break one, I ring it twice and call to apologize. Accountability with music feels more human than a calendar notification. The freezer holds an emergency cake mix and a frosted loaf marked neighbor. I bake them when the doorbell brings a story that needs sugar on a plate. I keep candles for sorrow and matches for stubborn jars. Hospitality is just logistics in a sweater. I install motion lights along the walkway not because I am afraid, but because the night has earned a gentler welcome. The raccoons appreciate it. So do the late shift nurses who park by the curb and walk past my gate humming. Light does not ask why you're late. It simply says, "This way." I've decided to memorize 10 phone numbers again. The muscles of memory strengthen with use, and numbers are like pebbles you keep in your pocket, reassuring, specific, satisfying to touch. On evenings when the news gnaws, I recite them and remember the people attached. It puts faces back on the world. There is a box on the hall table for unsaid things. I write a sentence on a slip of paper, fold it once, and feed it to the box. Once a month, I burn the slips in a pie tin in the yard, a backyard liturgy of letting go. Ashes don't demand closure. They accept it. I practice the dignity of decent clothes, even on quiet days. Not for vanity, though I like a good scarf butt. Because buttons and laces are small negotiations with dexterity, and I intend to keep bargaining as long as I can. When I switch to Velcro, I'll do it with ceremony and a joke ready. My calendar has a new kind of appointment. Nothing defended. 2 hours, twice a week, where idleness is not laziness, but maintenance. During nothing, I might watch the dust dance in slanted light or peel an orange slowly enough to keep the peel in one ribbon. I emerge greedier for life and less greedy for control. The pantry holds a storm shelf, stocked with shelf-stable soups, batteries, and a handwritten list of neighbors to check on when the grid gives out. Preparedness isn't paranoia. It's community with a flashlight. When fear arrives dressed as busyness, I ask it to sit down and list its concerns. Then I rank them by jurisdiction, which are mine, which belong to professionals, which belong to time. Fear is terrible at jurisdiction. Once the file is sorted, it usually leaves without slamming the door. I've taken to leaving kind graffiti and library books on a sticky note, not the page. Page 173 made me feel less alone. This sentence forgave me for not knowing. Perhaps a stranger will find it on a bad day and feel accomplished by the invisible. On the wall above my desk hang 3 frames. A photo of the bench where I swore my oath, a snapshot of my garden after the rain, and a blank frame. The blank frame is for whatever grace I can't imagine yet. When I feel the urge to fill it, I breathe and let it stay empty. Not every goodness needs a label to be real. I carry a small card in my wallet that reads, "If I seem confused, please offer water, a seat, and one question at a time." On the back, it lists Sarah's number and the words, "I am competent and independent." Patience helps me stay that. Wait, it's amazing how often kindness just needs a script. The knit stand holds a fountain pen and cheap paper that loves to drink ink. I write 3 lines before sleep. 1 truth, 1 gratitude, 1 instruction to tomorrow. The truth, I missed him today and survived. Gratitude, the bowl of cherries. Instruction, call the dentist. I'm less haunted by mornings when I give them a job before they wake. Once a season 1, invite 2 young attorneys for tea. We talk about the law and then about leaving it at the office. I tell them the most radical professional skill is ending a workday on purpose. We practice saying, "That's enough for today," until it sounds like a verdict we can live with. I am learning the art of being wrong without staying wrong. When someone shows me a better way to do something, open a stubborn jar with a spoon under the lid, shortcut a form online, I say, "Teach me again," and write it down. Pride is heavy. A small notebook is not. The mailbox brings more sympathy. Then invoices now. People who heard my story send clippings, scriptures, jokes, and once a drawing of a very enthusiastic hydrangea with arms. I answer 2 a week in real ink because paper courage deserves paper thanks. I keep a spare pair of reading glasses in the mailbox for the letter carrier, a cold bottle of water in the summer, a hand warmer in the winter. I can't fix the whole route, but I can put mercy at my gate. Some afternoons I drive the long way to the grocery store just to pass the lake where we used to picnic. I pull over and let the engine tick as it cools. Grief sits in the passenger seat without buckling in. We look at the same water and see different years. I don't ask it to leave. I ask it to be quiet while I count boats. The spare bedroom is now a guest office with a clear desk, a working lamp, and a sign. Write what you can, rest what you can't. Friends use it when life swarms them. The room returns them to themselves faster than advice ever could. I do not rehearse disasters at midnight anymore. If worry insists, I give it 5 minutes in the laundry room with a notepad. Under the hum of the dryer, catastrophes lose their costumes. Most of them are just chores trying to look important. When I meet a clerk, a nurse, a teller who's gentle, I write their supervisor a note by name that same day. Praise should travel as fast as complaints. It builds a city you can live in. I've learned to keep a tiny invitation ready for strangers on hard days. Would you like the cart with a stable wheel? I'm headed that way. Can I carry this to your car? It asks nothing back and creates a brief treaty in a noisy world. On the fridge, a list called rehearsals for joy, songs to play loud, spices to toast before soup, friends to text a bad joke. I check one box. A day, discipline isn't just for survival. It's for delight, too. I do not know what the next year will ask of me. I know what I will ask of myself: to keep a tidy table for truth, to guard the doors of my life with kindness and locks, to answer only the questions that are mine, and to leave room for the blank frame. If another storm rises and some do, without malice or warning, I will do what I promised: gather the paper, name the pattern, call the right person, and say no with a voice I practiced when the house was quiet. Then I will set the kettle, ring a small bell for a promise kept to myself, and sit by the window while the hydrangeas keep their color in a world that loves to insist it can't be done. Enough, again, still, again. And this continues to surprise me glad, again. Asterisk.